It's an off-road racer's guardian angel, the roll cage. Today, life-saving do's and don'ts as we get technical on our Pro 2 race chassis. Plus, lower budget doesn't mean less exciting. Short course racing, all right now on Xtreme 4x4.
Hey guys, welcome to Xtreme 4x4, and today we're going to start putting together our CORR Pro 2 race truck. Now, CORR racing has become hugely popular in the past couple of years, partly because fans like you can sit in the stands and watch an entire race start to finish, and also because of these wild machines that are tearing up tracks all across the states. Now, building a race truck is very different than building a trail truck or a fun buggy. Number one, the details really do count. A small thing missed in this stage can mean a serious accident out on the course, not just a day fixing your own stuff on the trail. And second of all, you've got a rule book that you have to follow every single step. Now, you may look at our North American off-road built rolling chassis and think we're ready for a motor, transmission, rear end, some wiring, plumbing, and ready to hit the track. Well, we're not. We got to deal with a whole bunch of little issues that are safety related and also little things that may come up during a race. Now, the rear axle on our rolling chassis is from TubeWorks, and it has a 4-inch axle tube and fabricated center section, all made out of 250 thousandths chrome moly steel. Now, this thing is designed with one purpose, and that is to survive serious off-road abuse. Our link mounts and shock mounts were already installed by the guys at North American Off-Road, but these rear uppers, they just seem to sit a little too tall. I like that sound. Okay, don't worry. With a cardboard template bandsaw, we will cut some gussets out of 090 chrome moly plate. Now we'll add the required flared holes using our light racing flared hole die. Now, this gusset will add strength to this upper link mount and keep it from folding over during serious off-road abuse, because not only does it tie the two side pieces together, it also triangulates it off the tube itself. Now, the flared holes aren't there just to look good, they add structural integrity to the flat panel because of the three-dimensional shape. To weld in the gusset, we're using ER 70S-6 welding rod and 2% thoriated tungsten in the TIG torch. On the end of our housing, we're running TubeWorks' new blade-style rotor and hub kit, as well as a Pro-Am 6-piston caliper. Now, the blade-style rotor is designed to heat and cool a lot more efficiently, as well as shed debris out of the brake system so it doesn't get jammed up in the caliper, causing the brakes to lock up. But the really unique feature of this system is how the rotor itself reacts to the typical heating and cooling cycle of a brake system. Now, normally a rotor, as it heats and cools, will warp across its axis, causing a brake pulsation in the brakes and therefore limit their performance. While the blade-style rotor is designed to expand radially and contract the same, so you don't get that brake pedal pulsation and it won't limit your brakes on your 800 horsepower CORR truck. To deliver fluid to the rear rotors, a 3/16 steel brake line will come off the backside of the caliper. Routing it close to the axle tube will help protect it during a race. A bulkhead fitting will be mounted beside the upper link mount. Now, this is where we're going to break from conventional race truck building. Normally, you'd leave this rear axle housing in bare steel. At the end of the race, you'd simply rub it down with some WD-40 and inspect all the welds. But if you remember, we're building this truck as a memorial truck for Jason Baldwin and the CORR sanctioning body, and they're going to take it around to tons of events for people to look at. And after just one trip across the country on the truck, you can see it's got a bunch of scaling and rust building up on the back of the housing. We don't want this to happen. So we'll strip this housing down, paint it or powder coat it, and then put it all back together. But that doesn't mean that we're going to skimp on any heavy-duty hardcore race parts for this project, and that leads us to the wheels. Now, CORR has some very specific rules that relate to the type of wheels you can put on your race truck. And these are TubeWorks Evolution Series 17 by 8.5 CORR legal beadlocks. Now, what makes them CORR legal is the outer beadlock flange must be a minimum of a ½ inch thick, as well as all the beadlock bolts, the valve stem, and the wheel studs themselves need to be mounted below the face of the rim. And the reason they do that is just specifically for safety. When this tire and wheel hits another truck, which it will in a race, you don't want to shear off those heads, the valve stem, or a wheel stud, causing a wheel failure and therefore an accident. Now, it's a true integral double beadlock inside and out, and we have mounted on here a set of Toyo Open Country MTs. Now, these are a street legal tire that a lot of CORR teams are actually running at the tracks. Now, we obviously haven't cut or grooved these yet. We're going to wait until we get to whatever track we're taking the truck to and do it then. Now, the one area of our chassis that we want to make sure stays intact no matter what is obviously the driver's compartment. Now, to do that, we're going to be adding gussets to all these tube intersections in this location of the chassis itself. Now, we have rules as well as pictures from the CORR Tech Department that show us exactly where the gussets need to go. And although they might not look like much, think of it like a snowshoe. If you step out into deep snow with just a boot on, you're going to go up to your knee. If you have a snowshoe on, you're distributing all your weight over a larger area and it'll hold you up. These work the exact same way by literally doubling the contact area of that tube.
See if this Class 7 rookie has the right stuff to make it to the big leagues. High drama in the Illinois cornfields when Xtreme 4x4 continues.
It was a really close race.
Hey guys, welcome back to Xtreme 4x4. Now, as you guys know, depending on where you live, different types of racing are hugely popular. West Coast, desert racing. East Coast, rocks and mud. Well, in the Midwest, where it's nice and flat, they have their own type of racing. 30 years ago, the cornfields around south central Illinois cried out to the local four-wheelers. Go big or go home! The Mid-America Off-Road Club answered the call, giving short track racers a place to strap in and get it on.
It's really good. It's really extreme short course racing out here. It's really hardcore and real fast paced. You got 3 10-lap heats of door-to-door action.
To compete, these racers bring more than a set of wheels to the racetrack.
You need nerves of steel for this kind of racing.
It can get pretty gnarly.
You get a little fender rubbing once in a while in short course racing. Nothing intentional. 2 guys fighting for positions. There's a little bumping and grinding.
You got to move them out of the way somehow. You can't just say, hey, move.
They say drive until you're scared and then push it just a little bit farther.
We come here to run and run hard, and we run hard, all the time.
5 classes of buggies and trucks came out to the season finale.
Welcome to Lincoln Trails Motorsports, Casey, Illinois.
Among the weekend warriors and series old-timers, a kid has emerged in the truck class and dubbed the One.
Extreme close-up, for Xtreme 4x4.
Just 22 years old, rookie Justin Bremer proved to be a natural by taking 2 overalls and 4 podiums in 6 events.
I just wanted to come out and watch this year. We hadn't planned on doing as good as we're doing. I surprised a lot of people in the first few races. They say, are you sure you've never raced before?
His all-out racing style has been compared to CORR champion Carl Rennezener.
It's a driver's class. You got to run your truck, you got to be smart.
And his all-business race face intimidates the competition.
My girlfriend doesn't like it because she say I get in my zone and I don't pay much attention to her, but I try to just focus on the race. At the end of the day, I'll give her the attention she needs. When them races are going on, that's all you're focused on.
On this day, his focus was clinching the Class 7 title.
I'd love to win the points race. That means a lot to me. Today I have to finish. If I don't finish, I'm not going to get it.
Ernest Hemingway wrote, "By guts, I mean grace under pressure." For Justin Bremer, this was gut check time. Battling for 3rd place in race 1, Dirk Carlin didn't go easy on the rookie.
Yeah, I did. I hit him a little harder than I wanted to, but yeah, I gave him a good little love tap.
Unfazed, the kid kept the veteran behind him all the way to the checkers.
Woo! I got a lot of fans I owe it to because they make me push it a little bit harder than I want to sometimes.
With a 3rd place in race 2, Justin closed in on the title.
We got 1 heat left. all I have to do is finish and I take the championship for the year as a rookie.
A sure thing came apart on lap 3.
I gave it a little goose coming around this corner over here, and I heard it start slipping. Completely lost everything.
When Justin's main points rival Tim Scherer finished in second, the official scorers had to crunch some numbers.
I'm sweating right now. It's a little cool out, the breeze is blowing, but I'm still sweating. I wanted this bad. I wanted this real bad. Not sure who won just yet. I'm gonna go find out here. Hopefully it's good news. I don't know what to expect.
Are you sure you really want to hear this?
I gotta hear it. I want to know.
Because it was a really close race, and it comes down to just a few points for second and third. You won.
Yeah, baby! That's what I'm talking about.
He's fast, he's smooth. You know, he's doing all the right things. I think he's going to be a good driver and one to look for in the future.
I am the champion.
Justin's going to be a star. He's going to be one of the good ones.
When you got guys that have been racing for 10, 12, 15 years saying you're good, you're going to be good. I mean, that means a lot when you hear that from veterans.
Next, never roll the dice when building a roll cage. Tips you can live with when Xtreme 4x4 continues.
Welcome back to Xtreme 4x4. Now, so far today we've been going over some of the race-specific parts required by our sanctioning body. We've added the required gussets to our roll cage to make sure this will pass tech, and we've added some gussets to our rear axle just to be sure it's going to last the entire race. Now, when you're building a full-on race truck, it truly is an exercise in patience. Occasionally you just have to look back at what you're building, plan for the best case scenario, but you have to build this thing to handle the worst. And when we're talking CORR, things can get pretty bad. Whether you swamp out on your own or you're caught up in the blender with 20 some odd other trucks, the only thing that's going to keep you walking away from one of these wrecks is a well-built roll cage. Now, our complete rolling chassis was built by Tony Vanillo at North American Off-Road, and he's been building serious hardcore off-road race vehicles for almost as long as I've been alive. So we're very confident in the design of his roll cage. But this stack of papers right here are all questions from you guys, wanting to know basic rules for roll cage or chassis design. Are there any things that I have to do? And well, there are. And since we're talking about safety as it relates to this roll cage, we thought it'd be a good time to take some time out and show you some basic cage rules. Now, the first rule of thumb we want to talk about is what's called intersect points. And that basically means that whenever you have one tube hitting a main hoop or support, you need to carry that load on the exact opposite side throughout the chassis. And a good example is right here at the roof line. We have this vent pillar coming up and it's carried over to the center of the chassis, as well as this tube goes all the way back to the rear frame rail with brakes in between. Now, these localized areas also create what's called heat nodes. So all your welding heat input is located in one centralized area. Now, this makes it a little bit stronger. But as you guys know, it's never the weld that breaks, it's always the metal right beside it. So if you think of it this way, if you had a tube in your roll cage that's basically running straight, you brought another tube into it from either the front or the rear, and you went ahead and brought the back tube to carry the load in and it was off center, when you got in a wreck, it's actually just going to want to fail and spin right by. If you carry that load on the exact opposite side, it's not going to go anywhere. Now, to get a better idea of how all these rules play out when you're building a complete roll cage, I put together a mock-up for you. This is obviously the starting point for almost any roll cage. It's the main hoop inside the truck's cab. And the first thing you want to add is the belt bar to travel behind the seats and eventually be the attachment point for the seat belts. To do this, we'll add a tube at an angle to create triangulation. Following the intersect rule of thumb, we need to continue this tube down to the frame rail on the opposite side of the belt tube. Some would consider this overkill, but I think the small amount of weight it adds versus the strength, it's a great idea to duplicate the crossbar on the opposite side. Now that we know our main hoop is strong, it's time to move forward and protect the driver and the passenger. Now, there's 3 real distinct styles of roll cage to do this, and we're going to show you all 3 on this one mock-up. Now, the first is what's called a halo bar. It's basically a hoop that travels from the main hoop out to the windshield. Now, obviously, we need to support the front part of our halo bar. And to do that, we're going to tie it into the frame by using a windshield and down tube that's going to come off the front corner and go down through the vehicle's floor. Now this is not a very popular style of cage in off-road, partly because any upward force that's placed on this tube here is hard to transfer into another tube that's tied in at such a steep angle on the halo itself. And that leads us to our next cage design. Next, we're going to build two distinctly different designs that share a lot of similarities. Now on this side, we basically pulled a page right out of a desert racing rule book. We have one single tube coming up from the frame, past the windshield, and back into the main hoop. On the opposite side, similar design, but literally with a twist. Comes up, past the windshield, turns, and goes back into the main hoop itself. You see this a lot on trail trucks, just visually more appealing. And they both have windshield bars and dash bars, and they have all those intersect points that we were talking about before that carry all that load right back into the center of our main hoop. Now the upper windshield tube is supported by two smaller bars that carry the load down eventually to the frame once the engine and transmission are put into place. And you could always add more triangulation into the doors themselves and even vent windows if the body style permits it. But all in all, if you use any of these cage designs and the intersect point tips that we showed you today, you know your cage is going to be safe. Welcome back to Xtreme 4x4. Now, so far today, we've been dealing with some safety issues required for our CORR Pro 2 race truck. And we also went ahead and built a mock-up roll cage to give you guys a couple different roll cage designs for your own truck. And now we can tear back into our race chassis. I didn't get the nut all the way off, hold on. To help keep track debris out of our driver's compartment, we're going to skin the cage around the driver with 090 aluminum. The rules require at least 075, but the 090 will not add that much weight. The entire roof needs to be skinned the same, as well as under the fuel cell to keep it from being punctured. Now this is another area where a race truck differs a lot from a trail truck. Most trail trucks you'll see out there, the body panels are trimmed to fit into the tube opening. But having this large sheet bolted on here actually makes it stronger and safer for the driver. Well, now we got to go through this entire chassis and make all the panels to protect the driver when he's out on the track. But you don't want to watch us do that. You want to watch us do this. That's good. Now, since today has been all about safety, we showed you a bunch of different things that relate to race trucks and trail trucks and built this mock-up cage. But the last thing we should do is test it. And that's strong.